So again, Christopher Combest, IRL, coming to you from my studio flat here in Ida Oberstein, Germany. And today I thought we would talk about languages, or more specifically, visiting Germany, and how to cope, how to really enhance your visit, your stay, depending whether you're visiting or you're coming more or less permanently. I want to talk about maybe some tips and tricks. Maybe this is the first of a series of videos that we will go over just on how to get around and things to do and see if you're going to be visiting or, say, moving here. I think a lot of this you can apply to other places. I've been to quite a few spots around the world, and I've always kind of taken the same approach to getting around and learning, from my surroundings and meeting people, etc. And so I thought I would just kind of go over a couple of things. I think we just start with languages. Basically, and keep in mind that no matter what, you're an ambassador. You're an ambassador, and you represent the company or the country that you come from. And that's important to remember. You may not want that responsibility, but people are always going to, when they're thinking, let's say you come from Oklahoma, whenever they hear Oklahoma, they're going to remember that American they met from Oklahoma who was funny and awesome and was generous and had great ideas and really struggled with the language, but at least he tried. Or they're going to remember that person from Oklahoma who was, shy, didn't really have much to say, had a bad attitude, etc. So keep that in mind. What I would say, more importantly, is to take a month at least to review and memorize some basic phrases. Learn how to say hello and goodbye, what time of day it is, and learn how to say things in the proper way, and then learn how to say it in the informal way. There's a lot of confusing things. I mean, in German, especially in German, oh my gosh. But don't take it too seriously at first. Just get the basics down and try to have some fun with it. I recommend using Google Translate. It's a fantastic app. You can put it onto your phone. You can use it on your PC, Macintosh, on the web. What you do is you select your native language. So let's just say it's English, and then over on the other side you would put in the language that you want to translate to. And they've got tons of languages from Finnish to oh my God, Urdu. So, but think of various scenarios that you might find yourself in and then learn how to address them, right? So again, hello, goodbye, good morning, good evening. How much is this? Can you take me here? Do you know where? And then think about the possible responses you would get from somebody and then put those in too so that you can kind of learn to hear what it is that you're going to be listening for, because it's not going to come naturally. It's a whole new languages. It's a whole new language, and there's and they use phonemes that you don't, right? There's it's very complex, but it doesn't have to be intimidating. And so, and I've noticed here that one of the reasons people don't cope well when they get here is because they just don't have any command at all whatsoever, or the courage to just get out and go see things. A lot of Americans who are in the military, they'll get stationed here for 3-4 years at a time, and they'll never leave the base because on base there's English and they feel comfortable with that, and that's fine. But what a tragedy, right? What a tragic thing to happen to somebody, to have spent 3, 4, 5 years in Europe and not be able to really talk about that weekend in France, or the trip to Switzerland, or just shopping at the local grocery store, in the little town right next to the base. Making friends who are German, these basic things, wonderful human interactions that that are something to tell your kids, your grandkids about, that they won't be able to do. And I think that's just, it is a tragedy. But recently on a trip to Venice, I used Google Translate because I don't speak Italian. I mean, other than the hello, goodbye, thank you, but I really, I struggle with even like how much is this and can I try this on? So I thought I would at least learn how to use a phrase, knowing I was going to Venice, and Venice was very much a touristy spot. And I know that there's a lot of Anglo and American people that are there quite often, and there's also French and Spanish that will come in, and the Germans, of course, will come visit. And I was hoping that while I would learn the basics via Google Translate and I'll talk about this later, Coffee Break Italian, which is part of the Radiolingua network. But I did. I learned how to just say this basic phrase, which was, "I'm sorry, my Italian is not very good, but I can speak English, German, French, and Spanish." And so that's how I addressed them when I got there. Right. So I would literally walk up to somebody and I would say, "Mi dispiace, il mio italiano non è molto buono, ma posso parlare inglese, tedesco, francese e spagnolo." And it's not perfect because my Italian is awful, right? But they understood what I was saying, and they would all kind of laugh and just say, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just speak English." No one really wanted to speak German or French with me, though. I had a few folks that would opt for Spanish, and that was fine. But we were able to communicate. But the fact that I took the time to say, in their language, this is, I'm just not very good at this, and I could really use some help. Do you happen to speak any of these other languages? So it gave them the confidence that at least there was a certain cosmopolitan quality to me, that it wasn't going to be just English my way or the highway. But because I was friendly and I was humble, people responded well. So going back now to these basics, the basic stuff like coming to Germany, just learn how to say, at a minimum, these five different short phrases. The first one is the most deceptive and the hardest to translate and to pronounce. Hello in English becomes hallo in German. Yeah, that's my joke. I mean, I'm joking about that. It's obviously very simple. Clearly, hello, hallo. If you happen to say hello accidentally, they're gonna reply with hallo. They know what you're saying. Then we got the good morning, which is guten Morgen. You got good day, good afternoon, guten Tag. Good evening becomes guten Abend, and good night becomes gute Nacht. Of course, they can't be uniform across the board. We can't have them all be guten with the N there at the end. We have to have the last one with a gute and then Nacht, because it's German. That's why, and that's because they do the way they do, and because that's why. Because we're Germans, that's why. That's what it is. We'll also get into gender and in cases later if we have to. But even then, you'll be like, "What are they? Oh my God!" Anyway, learn your numbers. That's not a hard thing to do. But then come up with a phrase to let the locals know that you're new in the country, but that you're trying to learn to use their language. It tells them that you're not an arrogant jerk, and that you're at least trying. And also, most importantly, make the phrase somewhat self-deprecatingly funny, humorous, cute, but at your own expense, because this will make you appear even more humble. And 9 times out of 10, they know enough English to help you get by, and they'll figure out what it is you need, and you'll work through it. But don't despair. This is not bad. This is good, because the more you interact, the more you learn. And pretty soon, within a couple of months, you'll be feeling like you're one of the locals, until you run into somebody who's got something really complex and abstract that they want to discuss with you. And then you're just like, can we just go back to hello and how much is this? So let's look at a couple of phrases here. So let's imagine that you're getting into a taxi or an Uber, or hopping on some form of transportation. Our first phrase that we might want to learn via Google Translate would be, Please bring me to this address, right? So, bringen Sie mich bitte zu dieser Adresse. Keep in mind, too, my German pronunciation is bastardized by the influence of my grandmother's Pfälzer and at times Hanoverian accents. I'm assuming from her schooling. And also the Hochdeutsch that I was taught with 4 years of German during undergrad at university. So I kind of move around, and I haven't really quite found my accent, my German accent yet. But listen to push the little speaker button on Google Translate and hear what it tells you, and then go from there. The next one would be take me to the pedestrian zone, please. Pedestrian zone is it's usually in the Altstadt, the old city, the old part of the town square or around there. It's where all the shops and restaurants are, and local attractions, and galleries, etc. So it's always a cool place to go to kind of get, a taste, an initial taste before you venture off into that Anthony Bourdain, world, 3, 4, 5 streets, 5, 6, 7 blocks into the neighborhoods. So when you ask them to take you to the pedestrian zone, it's bring mich bitte in die Fußgängerzone or the Fußgängerzone. The umlauts on the A there goes from an A to an E sound, so the Fußgängerzone. The next one we look at here would be basically, how much do I owe you? So wie viel schulde ich dir? Wie viel schulde ich dir? A really nice thing, especially if you're a little confused with the menu, is to ask the server what they recommend. So, was empfehlen Sie? Was empfehlen Sie? This is a great sentence, and if you've already told them that you're new and that your German's not that great, then yeah, they'll be like, okay, got you. So the last thing that I think that we would look at here is an example. I mean, obviously, you want to probably put together a good 25 or so phrases to study for a good month before you decide to come to Germany. This last one is great for when you're clothes shopping, and it's just a basic one. Can I try this on, right? So, kann ich das anprobieren? And it's nice to throw in a please, right? So that bitte is always nice to throw in there. So, kann ich das anprobieren, bitte? Bitte, kann ich das anprobieren? So it can go to the front or the back, and believe me, in German grammar, it can go a lot of different places in between. But bitte is important. B-I-T-T-E just means please. You can put that into Google Translate, and you'll see that. So the phrase that I would offer you to give to your German friends when you get here is something along the lines of es tut mir leid, aber ich bin neu hier und mein Deutsch ist hässlich. Right. So I'm sorry, but I'm new here and my German is ugly. That's fun, right? I mean, it's a fun phrase. It's cute. They'll laugh at you. Almost everybody's going to laugh at that point. And if you pronounce it with at least a decent amount of correct pronunciation, I mean, they'll say something. Oh, nein, deine Deutsch ist gut. I mean, they'll let you know that you're okay. But also, make sure you throw in that last sentence, which is "Aber ich versuche zu lernen," which is but I'm trying to learn, right? I have a lot to learn and I know it, and I'm doing my best. So, es tut mir leid, aber ich bin neu hier und mein Deutsch ist hässlich. And you really might want to have some fun with that too. It's hässlich, During the time of Corona, all you can do is squint your eyes because you got a mask on, but they can still hear you, right? So, that's where I would go with that. So, those are just some basic ideas. I mean, this is 5 or 6 phrases that you can use, that you can learn as a starter point. But I would go into more in-depth stuff. Excuse me, do you know where? Is there a blank in the area? Is there anything to do here? These very, very basic phrases. So that's what I would do. And just study them. Spend, 10 or 15 minutes a day. Just set it aside to go over the phrases you've learned. Or you can go to apps, right? So Um, Again, before my trip to Italy, I studied for a few weeks using the Coffee Break podcast, so specifically the Coffee Break Italian. And these are, I mean, literally these fantastic little 15 to 25-minute lessons that you can listen to for free wherever you get your podcasts from. So I use Spotify. I think it's on iTunes. I mean, it's got to be everywhere, right? So, but you can also go to the website and you can get more information there at Radio Lingua. But I'll also leave a link here in the description below. And there are also resources on YouTube. For example, this one from German Pod 101. For example, they have, I saw this one video, it's 25 phrases every German intermediate learner must know. So again, check out the link below in the description, save it to a playlist, and dedicate 9, 10, 15 minutes every morning, part of your routine. When I was learning the Italian for my trip, which got pretty good, I spent, well, a little less than a month, but I would listen to the podcast in the morning. I'd listen to 3 of the podcasts on my 45-minute drive into work, and then I would listen to the same 3 on my way home. I did that for a week, and then the next week, and then the next week. And so I had gotten through the first 9 podcasts, and I was comfortable with the things I'd learned there, which was basics, where are you from? How are you? My name is, what is your name? Where can I find? How much is this? I'd like a glass of wine. So the basic. Please like and subscribe. Hit the buttons, and I'll look forward to getting another video out soon. Take care.